Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to have an overview of the human design transits for the month of March. And I am filming today in Costa Rica, and I'm excited to be able to bring some beautiful flower and jungle energy to you in this report. And we've got so much going on. really so much. We are continuing in these cycles of endings, completions, and new beginnings. This is going to go on all year. It's actually going to go on this year and next year. And so we've been in this for a while. So this is like the most recent iteration of a time of great change on many levels. So I'm going to give you an overview of what's happening in March, and then I will be releasing additional videos as we go through the month because there's just so much going on. I don't want to go into depth about everything. I'll be here for a couple hours, and you probably don't want to be here that long either. So I'm going to break it into chunks as we get closer to the time, and there's some really great stuff happening, so I can't wait to share it with you. Okay, let's go ahead and dive in. So here are all of the sun and the earth gates for the month of March. You can see them here just in a calendar format and then also in the body graph. What you can see here is we do have a little more emphasis on the emotional solar plexus and the spleen, which of course were the solar plexus chakra, and they split into two. But in fact, the gates are fairly well distributed across the body graph. We don't have a huge consolidation in one place. And remember that through the course of the year, the sun and the earth are in the same gates, more or less at the same time as you go around the calendar year and around the human design mandala. And one thing you can do with that is, for example, if you have a month of the year that is either particularly challenging for you or particularly great for you, what you might want to do is just go through all of the different gates of that month and compare it to your natal chart and see, are there centers that become defined and channels that get defined every year around that time? We have two different women in our sovereign sisterhood who are doing that for the month of February. One of them finds February particularly challenging. The other had really great, life-changing, positive things happen during the month of February. So it's not necessarily one way or the other. It depends on you and your chart and how the transits are interacting with your chart. But that's just another way that you can start to work with the human design transits. And, you can track these through. And the truth is, this month, we have a whole bunch of different planets that are kind of all following each other. So we'll dig into that. So right now, remember, we are in the Pisces season. Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Pisces is watery. Pisces is the subconscious, our dream state. It can fall into sort of wishful thinking and fantasy and being dissociated and living in illusions in its more shadow state. But it can also be a wonderful energy for really dreaming what's going to be coming, because this is the end of the astrological year. Pisces completes the astrological year. And so we have a lot of completions that are happening right now. And we want to be looking at, all right, what still needs to be completed? And remember that when you're on a spiritual journey, right? And I imagine that you are, if you're here watching my videos, that you are a spiritual seeker and you're wanting to know yourself better, and you're wanting to know yourself in relation to the cosmos better, right? And so in that process, we're going to have many cycles of transformation and development. And every single one of those cycles of transformation are going to have things that are going to complete, things that you're going to release, things that you're going to let go of, and other things that are going to start to emerge, things that are seeded, things that start to move forward. So this is a great time here at the end of the astrological year, when the sun is in Pisces, is to be looking at what is it that we really want to complete now? What is it that we want to let go of? What just is going to go into the cosmic compost? Because by the time we get to Aries, we enter Aries season on March 20th. This happens with the Aries Equinox, is that we are entering the new year. And this is the new astrological year. And in fact, we have a lot of activity right around the Pisces Aries transition. And so we're getting a lot of like completions and beginnings and completions and beginnings. And the thing about the beginning of Aries, the number one or the first degree of Aries is known as the creator degree. It's powerful creative energy. And in Aries is so different from Pisces, right? Well, where Pisces is kind of expanded and watery and abstract and dreamy and everything. And Aries is like, okay, let's go. What are we going to do? Because remember, Aries is all about agency, right? And Aries is ruled by Mars. And so there's a lot of agency that comes in with Aries, a lot of personal sovereignty that comes in with Aries. It's my sign, and my sun is in Aries. And so we are going to have this shift. And so you can be using these first few weeks of the month of March to be thinking about what are we completing? What am I letting go of? So that I am more ready to really get started when we move into the Aries season. And you're going to see why this is even more important than it is most years. One thing that starts right here at the beginning of the month in March is Venus retrograde. And I don't usually talk about Venus retrogrades, but this year we actually have two retrogrades. We have Venus retrograde and we have Mercury retrograde. You can see from this image here that Venus's retrograde is a bit longer than Mercury's. But what's really striking here is that they're actually going over exactly the same territory in the human design mandala. Now, let's remember that Venus in human design is our values and our divine feminine energy. And Mercury is what we're here to talk about, what we're here to communicate about, kind of the qualities of our communication, and also potentially what we're here to share in a larger way, maybe what we're here to teach about. So these two are really kind of dancing together in the same part of the sky, the same part of the astrological wheel, and the same part of the human design mandala. And they are going back and forth over this Pisces Aries transition point. So remember when we have a retrograde, that a planet has already gone through a bunch of planets, right? And then it's going to turn around, it's going to go back through a series of gates, and then it's going to turn around and go forward again. So what happens is that each of the planets, it visits those gates 3 times, not just once, but 3 times. So like the first time, the first sweep is like, oh, okay, we're moving through. How are we experiencing these energies now? We haven't been here for a while. What does it feel like? How are we expanding into it, right? Lighting up this particular energy of this particular gate, right? And then it moves forward, moves on. And then when we go back, it's like, okay, we're going to go back over the territory we've already been on. So in this case, we might be asking things like, what conversations do we need to go back to? What conversations might need to be completed or opened up again because it didn't really go right the first time? Or maybe you realize, gosh, I didn't really say what I wanted to say then, or I was reactive when that person said that. I didn't really like the way I talked to them. Whatever it might be, right? And so that's part of the Mercury retrograde, right? Is to be thinking about these conversations that maybe need to be done again. And then with Venus, it's like, okay, how are our values playing into how we're experiencing the energies of different gates? And are we bringing in the divine feminine values, right? Of compassion, caring, beauty, embodiment, expansiveness, right? The sense that we're in this together, we're supportive for each other, right? These are divine feminine energies. And so we want to be going back through these gates kind of with that orientation. Now take a look at this. They are all going through the gate 21, the 17, the 25, and the 36. Now what's interesting is the 21 is in Aries, the 17 is in Aries, the 25 straddles Pisces and Aries, and then the 36 is in Pisces. And they're both going over exactly these same gates during their retrograde period. So they're going to go back over this. So with the 21, stewardship, the 17, your opinions. What are you anticipating is coming? What's your opinion about that? The 25 is, how are you loving spirit? Are you paying attention to your spiritual life? during this time. And the 36, in traditional human design, it's known as crisis, and it can go that way, but it can also be exploration. And I'll have to say, both the 25 and the 36 are getting so much attention. We've had the 36 lit up for a really long time. And we had planets out of it for a little bit, but we're coming right back in. And so we're really looking at, because right now the North Node is in the 36. So it's there for a long time. And that 36 can be a little bit challenging. So as we go back through it, we want to make sure that we're using that energy to break patterns of the past and then to explore what else is possible. And this is another time to be really looking at your spiritual life. Are you paying attention to your spiritual growth? Are you taking care of that? Are you bringing your values of caring and compassion and oneness, right? So unity consciousness to your way of being and the way that you're experiencing your spiritual life? Are you helping to steward your own resources in your own life, in your family, in your communities, in our world, right? And are you in a positive state of anticipation about what can happen? Both of these planets are going to be lighting up those qualities. Like I said, 3 different times. So you can take a look at where these are and what is this bringing up for you? Now, you might feel, because these planets are retrograde, and they're the only planets that are retrograde, all of the bigger planets have gone direct. I think that's true, right? Yeah, and they, because Mars just went direct, and so yeah, I think all of the other planets are moving direct. So you might feel a little bit of slowing down as these two, because these are fast moving planets, right? They move through the gates really fast. So they're going to be slowing down and moving back. So you might be feeling a little like, oh, I got to not move forward and do a lot of new things. So I'm going to kind of move back. But it's in a creative tension with so many other things moving forward at the same time. So if you feel a little bit of push-pull about going forward or kind of going back over, it's totally normal. It's just the energy of it. And you get to decide how you want to navigate that at any particular time. Then we have a lunar eclipse in Virgo that is happening on March 13th. So lunar eclipses always happen during the full moon. So this is going to be a full moon. It's happening in Virgo, and it's happening in the gate 6. So the gate 6, one of the more challenging gates in human design. In traditional human design, it's known as friction. And in quantum human design, it's known as impact. And so when you're working with the gate 6, you really want to be paying attention to the quality of the energy that you're expressing, because it can come about in a little bit of a kind of a way, a little bit. So, right, friction. Right. So be aware during this lunar eclipse, right? Everybody's going to be experiencing this while the Earth is in the gate 6. And especially here, the moon is going to be in the 6, and it's lit up by that full moon, right? And the 6 is one of the 4 gates in human design that we say has aura busting qualities. So what does that mean? It just means that those energies are more penetrating than other energies in the chart. Now, all of the energies, if you have it defined in your natal chart, you're going to be transmitting that energy to other people. But when it's one of those 4 aura busting gates, it's even stronger. That's one of the reasons it's been renamed impact, because it does have a lot of impact. It can. So the question is, so this is tribal energy. It's on the emotional solar plexus, so it's emotional energy. And so this can show up a lot in relationship in particular. So take a look at what arises for you around relationships. And also know that, Virgo is this beautiful energy. Virgo loves beauty. Virgo is a divine feminine energy. Absolutely, right? And this could be a time where you want to just be taking better care of yourself, just making sure you have what you need, making sure that your body is hydrated, that you're giving yourself good food, getting the right exercise, getting enough sleep, just doing all of those things. And when you do that, Virgo really loves that. And it's also going to make it easier for you to manage the intensity of the energy of that gate 6. Because if you're under-resourced, think about it, right? If you don't get enough sleep, If you're eating food that is throwing you off, right, your digestion isn't working all that well, right, you're not getting exercise and you're kind of being lethargic, then if something comes up in your relationships, you're much more likely to have conflict, right? You're much more likely to have friction. Whereas if you're well-resourced, you're taking good care of yourself, you're caring for your body, you're caring for your emotions, you're caring for your mental health, then if something comes up in your relationships, it's much more likely that you can navigate that, with ease, for one thing, but also just from a more grounded way, because Virgo is grounding, right? We want to be grounding during this full moon, and you can approach it in that way so that you can come to an agreement or a way of being with each other that really works for everyone. In addition to the eclipse, there's a cluster of activity that's happening right here in the middle of March. So I'm going to go ahead and just review this for you. So the next thing that happens is that Saturn is going to move gates from the 22, which is on the emotional solar plexus. It's known as the gate of surrender, and it's in the knowing circuit. And it's a beautiful energy of really sort of surrendering to spirit and saying, okay, I am going to put myself in your hands, to the universe, right? And I'm going to see what comes to me through downloads of my knowing circuit. So this is where Saturn has been. And then on the 17th, Saturn's going to move into that gate 36. Remember how I said that 36 is really getting lit up a lot. So Saturn is going to move into that gate 36. And let's remember, Saturn is the great teacher. Saturn is a disciplinarian, but Saturn is also the one that helps us to develop our own personal discipline, right? Saturn likes it when we pay attention to whatever it is that he's saying, hey, come over here, take a look at this. So what I would say here is Saturn is giving us another opportunity moving into that gate 36 to say, what else do you need to let go of the past, right? Again, this could be crisis, depending on how you choose to embody it and express it, because the 36 can be crisis. It can be an existential crisis, a crisis of like, I don't know what my life is about. I've kind of done all the things, or I don't even know if I want to do anything more. I feel kind of, jaded and kind of like, ugh, right? You can go that way with the gate 36, but you can also be like, what else is there? What else is there for me to explore? What else can I lean into, right? And as you do that, you want to be shedding whatever of the past might be weighing you down and keeping you that kind of existential angst, right? Whether that's something you inherited from somebody in your family or from the culture at large, or people that you've spent a lot of time with, or even if it's something that you've had that's been resonant in your soul journey, this is a time when you can just be like letting the past fade into the background and be available to you as wisdom, right? Because when we break the patterns of the past, then we can see the patterns of the past and we can learn from them and we can grow from them. And that's ultimately what the 36 is really great at helping us do. And then on the 20th, we have the Aries Equinox, and that's happening on, that's on a Saturday. And here is the body graph for it. And I wanted to show you the mandala because in this particular picture, you can see what I'm talking about all this activity happening right around this transition from Pisces into Aries. So here you can see in the gate 36, here's Saturn and the North Node. The North Node's been there. Saturn has caught up with it, right? Because we just saw that. And then in the 25, you can see the Sun's in the 25 and Neptune's in the 25. And this is the gate of spirit. And then in the 17 is Mercury and Venus. And that is definitely in Aries at this point, right? But you can see all 6 of those activations are happening in a really short space right around the Pisces Aries transition. And by the time we get to, it's farther along in the gate 25, because the gate 25 actually contains that transition point. So Neptune has been in that gate 25, and we noted in last month's transit report when Neptune moved into the gate 25, but was still in Pisces. And then Neptune at the end of March, this is actually the biggest deal of the month, and I'll talk more about that in a minute, but is when Neptune moves into Aries on March 30th. And that's all going to happen inside of the gate 25. And then we'll eventually move into the 17. But then you can see here, we've got Mercury and Venus doing their dance together in the gate 17. So let's remember that equinoxes are a time where we have more or less equal length of day and night, right? It's a balance point that happens where wherever we are in the world, we're having the same amount of sunlight and the same amount of nighttime. And so this is a time when the hemispheres of the world have this moment, right? Where we're like, oh, we're kind of all in the same place. Whereas with the solstices are the most extreme parts, right? We have the longest night and the longest day. And that is where the hemispheres are the most far apart, the northern and southern hemispheres, right? But the equinoxes are where we're the most together. So there is this sense of global oneness that can happen during the equinoxes because there is this sense that we're all having the experience under the sun and on the earth at this time. Now, another fun fact to bring in here, and you can research this more if you want to, but if you have heard of the precession of the equinoxes, which is what, like in the human design world, this has a lot to do with us moving from the cross of planning to the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is in process right now, actually. And so these are these big cycles, 2,000-year cycles, and then there's mini cycles inside of them. And we are right now, the turning of the ages that we've been hearing about forever, right, is we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And part of that was Pluto moving into Aquarius, which happened back November. But now we also have the precession of the equinoxes where we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And what determines that is on the spring equinox, the Aries equinox, is what constellation is on the horizon when the sun rises on the Aries equinox and becoming Aquarius. So that's the turning of the ages. And then we will be in the age of Aquarius for 2,000 years, approximately. So this is a big deal. So this is another thing that's happening here with the Aries equinox, right? So there's a lot that's happening here, a lot that's ending, a lot that's beginning. The astrological year ends with the equinox, right? The end of Pisces, we move into Aries, the creator degree, right? So with this equinox, we're moving into the creator degree. We're moving into the age of Aquarius. There's a lot going on. So one thing I just want to say is take good care of yourself. Make sure that you're having a sadhana practice. You probably heard me talk about this before if you've been following me for a while. A sadhana practice, that's a word that comes out of Sanskrit and out of the yoga traditions. And I am a Kundalini yoga teacher, radiant body yoga teacher. And we always encourage people to have a daily sadhana practice, which in the yoga traditions has different formats, right? And you can certainly do those. And I have different practices in my gifts for my audience on my YouTube channel, if you want to go find them there. But it's just really a matter of you meeting you, where you carve out time where you're not paying attention to the outer world. You're not paying attention to other people. You're not even necessarily paying attention to things like your work, right? You're paying attention to how do I feel on the inside? What's going on with me emotionally? How is my body doing, right? What does she need? What's my emotional, mental state like, right? You're paying attention to those things and you're looking at what's been going on. How have you been showing up? Are you happy with how you've been showing up? Is there anything that you need to shift? Are there any ways you want to make amends to somebody because maybe you spoke to them in a way that you would rather have not have done? Or are you really proud of how you've been showing up? Are you really proud about how you interacted with somebody? You didn't, judge them or blame them or get upset with them, even though you disagreed with what they said, right? That's the kind of thing that we do during sadhana practice. Now, I like to do energy practices and movement practices that go along with that because I think it helps us change our state so that we can really get more in touch. And it's also about connecting with our spirit aspect. Right? The energetic spiritual part of who you are, whether you consider that your inner being or your higher self, or simply that kind of expanded spiritual aspect of who you are. So Equinoxes are an incredible time to do this. And I also just recommend that you do this regularly if you don't already have this, right? We've got all of these different planets going in and out of that gate 25, right? And we had Neptune in it and is still in it for now. You know, Neptune saying, hey, how's your spiritual practice? So this is a really good time to do this. And it's particularly important when the outer world is becoming increasingly chaotic, challenging, and conflictual, which is happening right now. And so if you pay a lot of attention to what's going on out there, you can get caught in conflict energy. You can be pulled into chaos. You can get extremely overwhelmed. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't act in the world in the way that your heart directs you to do so, but you also need time to be quiet and to be just with yourself and let all that outer world stuff go and get in touch with what's really true just for you. Especially when there's a lot of things that are going on in the outer world. There's a lot of contradictory and conflictual information that's coming to us through the media. We want to be able to balance that out by really connecting in with our own spiritual guidance, right? Our own inner guidance. And human design always, always, always sends us back inside. This is what our authorities are. This is what our strategies are, is it sends us back inside of ourselves to say, well, what does your inner guidance want to tell you? It's extremely important to do that really at any time, but particularly when the outer world feels like, wow, I don't really know what to believe about what's going on out there, right? So take care of yourself, make some time for your spiritual practice, and I think you'll be really glad that you did. So a few more things that are happening in March. Again, this is just an overview. Mars is going to be moving from the gate 53, which is about starting things, into the gate 62 on March 22nd. So right after the equinox. And this is the gate of details or preparation. And Mars is still going to be in Cancer. And, you know, Cancer is a kind of really tender, sensitive energy, right? That Mars has been really working with his emotional life while Mars has been in Cancer. And then in April, Mars is going to move into Leo, but not for a little bit. But it's going to change gates. So the gate 62 is the gate. It's a gate of getting ready for things, right? It's preparing. And it's preparing and making sure that you have all the details that you need. Now, the challenge of this is sometimes over preparation. So you want to watch out if you're one of those people. And this is particularly true, like if you have a first line profile or if you have a gate 48 defined in your chart, you may feel like, I don't really know enough about this yet. I don't want to move forward with it because I need to keep diving. I need to keep investigating, right? Need to keep researching before I move forward. And then what can happen is your preparation can become your whole life, right? That's all you do is prepare. It's you research and you investigate and you prepare and you gather the details, but you never move forward. So you want to watch out for that part, particularly for you first lines and those with the gate 48. But it is also great to help you to prepare. And so if you're one of those people who doesn't prepare maybe as much as would be good for you, you might want to pay attention while Mars is here, because again, Mars is about agency, right? Mars is about moving forward. Mars is about, let's make some stuff happen. Historically, Mars has been known as the god of war, right? This is what the Greeks and then the Romans in particular decided Mars was going to be the god of war. And so there can be fighting energy here, but Mars is also evolving into the spiritual warrior, which is how we like to hold him in human design, is more about being that spiritual warrior. Yes, he can be immature and he can get into conflict and, he have that kind of adolescent attitude. Absolutely. But as you're maturing and as we are all maturing, as we are growing and evolving, we want to evolve into being that spiritual warrior energy. And so you want to be using that as Mars is moving into the gate 62. And then just a few days later on March 26, Uranus, who's still in Taurus, right at that end of Taurus, is going to move from the gate 23 into the gate 8. Now, both the 23 and the 8 are in the knowing circuit, and Uranus has just been moving his way through the knowing circuit. So remember, Uranus is the god of transformation, awakening, sudden change, kind of electrical, lightning kind of energy, like, right? And so this is a really good time to be looking, first of all, like, what is Uranus bringing in? What are the insights through when it's in the gate 23? It's right here in the knowing circuit. What is Uranus wanting to bring in and helping you to express? That is revolutionary. That is awakening. That's out of the box. That is going to help move us forward on our evolutionary path. Because remember, the impulse of evolution runs through the knowing circuit in the human design chart. Okay, so then it's going to move into gate 8, which is about contribution. And this is a really great thing for you to look at if you're not feeling 100% behind what you're doing in your life. This could have to do with your work, right? Your contribution that you're doing through the work that you do in the world, but could also be how you work with your community, how you work with your family. But it is just about how are you contributing and is it fulfilling to you? I think one of the big aspects of what we're going through now is so many of the things that we were taught to do, we were taught were going to make us happy, we're going to make us successful. Even the definitions of success, right? A lot of us are stopping and going, wait a minute, I don't really think I want to do that. I don't think that's really fulfilling for me. I can't tell you how many people have come to me for human design readings. They could be in their 40s, they could be in their 50s, and they're like, I did the thing. I went and I got the corporate job, I got married, I had some kids, I got the house, I did the thing, I made the money, and I don't really feel satisfied in my life. I don't really feel fulfilled. I feel like I followed the program, and now I'm here, and I'm like, this is it? Really? This is it? And so if you're feeling that way, this is a wonderful time to call on Uranus to help you to awaken to a new set of possibilities. How could you be changing what you're doing, how you're contributing? Doesn't mean you have to go out and quit your job tomorrow, okay? Doesn't mean that. Don't necessarily do that unless you know it's the right time. But it can mean that you will awaken to a new sense of possibility, a new potential of how you could live your life. It could also be that you have a sudden change because Uranus is sudden change, right? Could be. But you will be better prepared, right? And here we are, we've got Mars in the gate of preparation now. You'll be better prepared if you are honest with yourself about not necessarily feeling fulfilled with the contribution that you're making and wanting to make a change. And Uranus will help you to do that. Then at the end of the month, this is kind of like big stuff happening right here at the end of the month. And I'm going to do more videos about this later on, like I said, so we can go into it more deeply. But I just want you to know that this is happening so you can get it on your calendar and know that it's coming, which is that we have an Aries solar eclipse happening on March 29th. And it's happening in the gate 17. Remember, we've been talking about the 17 just a little while ago because both Mercury and Venus are going to be retrograding back through that 17. And so the 17 is getting a lot of extra attention as well. So solar eclipses happen with new moons. So this is a new moon. It's happening on March 29th. And so the 17 is known as opinions in traditional human design or anticipation in quantum human design. And you can see here it's making a complete channel with the 62 because Mars is in the 62 now. So we've got this this whole channel going on right over here from the ajna to the throat. This is in the logic circuit. So it is analytical, it's strategic, it's great for kind of planning and sorting things out. So you can use it for that. And the 17 is best when you can not you got to watch out for those big fat opinions. I have the 17 defined in my chart. I've had to really learn how to work with my opinions. I think opinions are great. And I think it's important for all of us to have a point of view. I think it is important for all of us to be able to stand in our truth and to stand up for what we believe in. But nobody likes to have somebody else's opinion thrown at them in a way where they feel like they're being made wrong, right? So that's a big thing with opinions is it's great to express your opinion, but not if somebody else is feeling like, wow, you just totally made me wrong for my opinion, right? What we want to be able to do is evolve into a place where we can hear each other's opinions. We can have conversations when we do not agree. We can listen to people and we can take in what they're sharing, even if we don't agree with them. And many times, if we're willing to have the conversation, if we're willing to not have to be right about everything, if we're willing to say, hey, you know what, I want to find a way to connect with people rather than find a way to conflict with people, then we can expand so that we can have space for more and more opinions. And a lot of times I find that we have a lot more common ground than we thought that we did. As a matter of fact, I was here at an event for the development here called Eclipse San Mateo, which is where I'm going to be building a house in the next couple of years. And we had an event for our community, our growing community, where we did an exercise that was exactly like this. We got together in groups of 3 with people who felt differently about a particular topic. And we each had 2 minutes to talk about it and just listen. It wasn't a conversation. And it was great because by the end of the time that we had that exercise, we all kind of looked at each other and went, you know what? We're not so far apart as we thought maybe we were. So this is part of what we want to be able to do when the 17 is being lit up. We don't want to polarize into opinions, which unfortunately is what's happening a lot. We shut our ears and we're like, I know I'm right. I know you're wrong. And I'm not even going to listen to what you have to say. There's way too much of this going on right now. We want to be able to hear what somebody has to say, hearing what they have to say and having some empathy for that point of view doesn't mean you have to agree with it. Doesn't mean you have to give up what you believe. But a lot of times what we do believe evolves when we're willing to talk to other people who think differently than we do. So here we are, solar eclipse, right? During this new moon. And so this is going to be lit up for us really strong. And then it's also connected to this preparation. So we can be speaking this out as well. Okay. And then really the biggest news of the month is Neptune is going to be moving into Aries on the 30th of March, just the next day. Okay. Right after that Aries solar eclipse, Neptune is going to move into Aries, still in the gate 25, still in the gate of spirit. So we're going to have this powerful shift that's happening right inside of this one gate. The gate 25, again, is the gate of spirit. It's on the G center and it's in the centering circuit, which is individual circuitry, which again is where the evolutionary impulse of humanity runs through the chart. But we're changing astrological signs. And so Neptune here, who is like the god of the sea, right? And Neptune, of course, rules Pisces, is going to be in a pretty different energy moving into a fire sign. And remember that Neptune helps to dissolve things. And so as Pisces, as Neptune starts to move into Aries, again, this is another moment of dissolving, right? Dissolving what might be holding us back from our own creativity, our own creator energy. Because remember, the first degree of Aries is the creator degree, the very beginning of the zodiac, and the very beginning of the astrological year. And Neptune is going to be here for 14 years. So when these outer planets change size, it's a big deal, right? They're there for a long time. This is like a generational change that we're going to have with Neptune and Aries. And also just to say that in May, Saturn's going to catch up and is also going to move into Aries. And so we're going to have Neptune and Saturn going in and out of Aries. So this is an extremely dynamic time that we're in, right? There's so much that is changing. You can see how many of the planets were changing sign, changing gates, and then we have this big major change of sign. And so again, we're just continuing to move. We're shedding the old, right? Remember, Pluto is still there in the gate 41, the gate of imagination in Aquarius, which is asking us to break down our affiliations with the old order that no longer serve us? How can we step more into egalitarianism? How can we support our communities while also honoring the sovereignty of the individual? And with all of these planets moving into Aries, again, this is sovereignty energy, right? This is agency energy. This is like let's move forward. And if you just think of what happens in the spring, certainly in the northern hemisphere, right? Things start to come alive. It's when we have our blossoms. It's like everything, right? And it's also the most expansive time of the year for the sun, where the days get the longest until we hit the summer solstice, and then they start to get shorter again. But this springtime is the most expansive time of the year. And Aries, the first degree of Aries is what starts it out. So that's all happening this month, people. It's a big month. So take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of the people around you, and really just kind of lean into what are you dreaming into, right? You've got a few weeks while Neptune is still in Pisces. What are you dreaming into? And remember, we've got Pluto in the gate of imagination, right? So that is really the benefit of letting all the older stuff go that doesn't serve you anymore, or that really just needs to go for the highest good of all, even if you really liked it, because that's happening too. And to be looking at the new, right? Looking at the new and what we're bringing in. All right, my friends, that is my March Human Design Transit Report. I will be back later in the month with more that is going to be happening. I also want to let you know that I started a series of videos about the human design gates, and I will list the playlist at the end of this video. And I'm going in the order that the sun is going from when we started. And these are short videos. They're between about 5 and 10 minutes long. And they're drawn from my transit reports that I did for 4 years, where I talked about every single gate as the sun and the earth move through them. And so there's a lot of content there. And so you can, let's say that your sun is in the gate 17. We've just been talking about the gate 17. Let's say that's where your sun is. You want to go find out more about the gate 17. Then you'll be able to go and check out, that little video that I have about that. And it'll give you more information than you will get, from a book, for example. So you can look for that. On Tuesday, March 18th, I'm going to do a webinar, which is about life purpose. This is particularly going to be geared for midlife women who are at a stage of their lives. A lot of times people are empty nesters, or they're looking at their career and they want to have a change. They may want to move to a new place, but it's going to be focused on life purpose and stepping into our sovereign power and our purpose. And this will be based in human design. I do have a series of videos about life purpose already on my channel if you want to take a look at that. But we're in such an incredibly dynamic time when so many things are changing that I wanted to support us who are really looking at, how do I need to upgrade my sense of purpose at this time, right? How do I need to shift that? And with Uranus moving into the gate 8, right, which is the gate of contribution, which in its mate is purpose. It's a really good time for us to be reviewing this. So we will be letting you know when that's happening, so you can come and join in. But just save the date for right now, March 18th. Focus on life purpose. All right, my friends. Many blessings. Much love. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.